Hi everyone. So, Camera Conspiracies went out and tested the E-M1 Mark III for vlogging. And, he always finds something wrong, right? I don't have my E-M1 Mark III yet, but I wanted to see how the E-M1 Mark II performs with changing lighting conditions. Because, it's never been a problem for me. I don't worry about the exposure a whole lot. But I think it's a legitimate issue for a lot of people potentially, that if the exposure is not adjusting properly on your face, then it might be a deal breaker. So I'm in harsh morning light, so I can have very strong backlighting on me, or if I walk over here I can get very strong front lighting on me. So I'm trying to duplicate exactly what he was doing best I can, but I didn't want to wait till afternoon sun where it's coming straight down. But this is a valid test all the same, I think. And as far as I could tell, he had the camera in 1080p, aperture priority, auto ISO, and then he had the lens wide open. So that's what I'm doing. I'm shooting with my 12mm f2 wide open, because I don't have the same lenses he used on that day. But I don't know. How's it doing? God, the sun is right into the lens right now. So I bet, I don't know any camera that would be able to handle that. But something like this where I have, the sun directly on me, I got a black jacket and, just a tree line behind me, I would expect the camera to be able to handle this to some extent. But anyway, let's keep walking. Somebody made a comment that Peter Forsgaard had a video on getting auto ISO in manual mode in video. And I went through a lot of his videos this morning and I could not find it. So if anybody knows where that is, or Peter, if you can let me know if there's some hack to get auto ISO in manual mode in video, just let me know, because I played around with the camera this morning and I couldn't find it. Alright, so one more test I wanted to try was just to put the camera in program mode instead of aperture priority with the lens wide open. So I'm just going to let the camera handle the exposure 100%. And I'm also in natural color profile. So I'm curious to see if it does any better when I just let the camera do all the work, right? And that's typically how I record my vlogs anyways, in program mode a lot of times. Because I remember reading in the comments, somebody mentioned that maybe the lens could reach its maximum f-stop at f22 and not be able to make the image any darker. You would think, it would compensate that with shutter speed, but it's hard to say. But what's interesting is, I think I can just barely see the screen, but standing here in the bright light, it doesn't look like the exposure is adjusting to my face. So let's go over here. It seems to do great when the lighting is at least close, but I'm going to take a picture in program mode at different parts of the yard and see what exposure the camera picks, because that'll be pretty close to what the video does. Alright, so one last test I want to do, and I'm back in aperture priority mode with the lens wide open at f2. So I'm going to start to dial in some negative exposure compensation, because a lot of times when you have a lot of black in the image, like my hat and this jacket, it's going to overexpose the face. And it's something I do time to time actually in my vlogs. So I'm going to do the same thing here. And again, I'm in really bright light. Let me see. Alright, so that's -1 exposure comp. And this would probably be how I actually set the camera if I was going to go vlogging in this kind of light. I mean, it looks really dark on the screen, but I know when I go back and look at it on the computer, it actually comes out okay. But here we are, and I've also noticed that sometimes the camera performs better with backlighting rather than lighting directly on my face. But there we have it. This is with -1 exposure comp. And keep in mind that this is not the EM5 Mark III, all right? And the EM5 Mark III that he was using was not the final production model. Because I know that Olympus has done firmware updates for exposure, right, in video. So I am running the latest firmware on this camera.